Hello and welcome to the hard sell, where the stick in the swill-bucket rattles back. And in this episode we're paying tribute to a man whose career was so long and prolific that not only was he a part of my childhood, but my parents as well, and, had I any, my own children's. He fought Daleks as a young and as an old man, he protected Jenny Agatha, and he cleaned up Wimbledon Common, which, incidentally, is where this is. I am, of course, referring to Mr. Bernard Cribbins. Over the course of something like 68 decades in show business, Cribbins had hit singles with genuinely amusing novelty records, a remarkable achievement in itself, starred in classic films including The Railway Children, Two-Way Stretch and Two Carry-Ons, 3 if you count Carry On Columbus, but trust me, you don't. Eventually becoming an elder statesman of British entertainment, all without ever stopping working until death forced the issue. He's got one last Doctor Who cameo still coming up. And he had a distinctive voice, as cuddly and avuncular as his physical presence, which means he did plenty of adverts, particularly, but by no means exclusively, for child-oriented, or at least child-friendly, products and services. One of his earliest advertorial assignments, when he was still making evening comedies, was to narrate the television spots for the Tufty Club. Tufty Fluffytail was a stop-motion squirrel who lived in the blandest home country suburbia you've ever seen, and basically had no personality whatsoever beyond knowing the Green Cross code, unlike some.
One fine day, Tufty is playing on the grass with Bobby Brown Rabbit. But Harry Hare and Willy Weasel are playing out by the road, near the cars and buses.
Well, that's a dumb thing to do. See?
Poor Willy. The car has knocked him down. Very luckily, Mr. Policeman Badger comes along to help.
With a name like that, his life could have gone either way, really.
Oh, my word, says Policeman Badger.
Well, maybe it did. Because that is not what you're supposed to do with injured people. Just drag them about, breaking even more bones.
You are both silly boys to play in the road. Now Willy's been hurt. He won't be able to play with you for a long time.
All right. I don't think he needs to be made to feel worse about this. How about getting some damn medical assistance?
Never play near the road.
You'll notice Tufty himself didn't do much. He never did. His function was twofold: to follow the rules so that nothing could happen to him, and also to bear witness to the stupidity of Willy Weasel.
This is what happened one day when the ice cream van stopped by Tufty's house. Ice cream! And Tufty goes to find his mummy. Tufty always asks his mummy to go with him to the ice cream van. But Willy Weasel has gone off to get an ice cream by himself. Oh, dear! Oh, Mummy! Willy has been knocked down by a car. Now Willy has been hurt. And all because he didn't ask his mummy to go with him to the ice cream van.
Of course, this depends on Willy Weasel having a mother who gives a fuck. Or at all, for that matter. Then again, this is the early 60s, when such a thing was unthinkable, barring untimely death.
When you want to go to the ice cream van, always take Mummy with you.
Cribbins was the perfect choice for this sort of job because of the inherent benevolence of his voice. Compare it with one of his other public information jobs, the famously harrowing Play Safe, mostly familiar from the shortened case study versions that played in commercial breaks, particularly this one. It was originally a 10-minute video with animated segments in which Cribbins, as a Robin, is sternly lectured by Brian Wilde as a particularly cold and stentorian owl.
Poor boy. It would never have happened if he'd kept out.
Or if he'd been playing somewhere safe.
Exactly.
Wilde's vocals as the owl have quite the opposite effect to that of Cribbins on the Tufty adverts. Not worse, I must stress, just different. Play Safe is aimed at older children than Tufty was. Tufty was for preschoolers, who would probably have just been intimidated by Brian Wilde's poker-faced authoritarianism. The avuncular quality of Cribbins, which didn't stop at the voice, as Lionel Jeffries recognised when he cast the Railway Children, prevents the target audience to the Tufty Piffs, which again is real little kids, from feeling either patronised or lectured.
When you want to go to the ice cream van, always take Mummy with you.
This quality, of course, made Cribbins perfect for children's entertainment. Tufty was just the start. He also held the record for appearances on Jack and Nori, the show in which a celebrity would read and or enact a children's book down the lens, accompanied by illustrations. Cribbins did approximately 873 of them, including the collaborative tackling of The Hobbit. He read for Bilbo Baggins, of course.
Good morning, said Bilbo, and he blew out a beautiful grey ring of smoke that sailed up into the air without breaking.
But Jack and Nori is not an Adverts, so begone! Cribbins' most famous children's undertaking was, of course, The Wombles, the everyday story of some sort of vaguely badger-like, hedgehoggish woodland creatures named after random places on the atlas and living on Wimbledon Common, recycling the litter into various useful objects. You know what Wombles are, you don't need me to explain Wombles. Bernard Cribbins was the voice of all of them, except for the pop group version, which was Mike Batt. But I've always considered that a surrealist alternate universe in a TV series anyway. The Wombles actually had two ongoing TV series, one in the 70s and one in the 90s. They keep trying to make a third, but why do they have human mouths? Stop this at once. And the original 70s episodes were repeated over and over again for about 20 solid years, until they started making new ones in 1996. So the upshot is they're part of the childhoods of several generations, including mine. And Cribbins was always on hand to reprise a Womble for promotional purposes, like when McDonald's attempted to tie in with the 90s series.
When I grow up, I want to be a rubbish collector. I want to be a dustman.
Happy Meals now come with one of 12 litter-loving Wombles. Their good habits might even rub off on you.
I want to be a road sweeper.
Womble Mania. Catch it at McDonald's.
Yes, well, nice try. If you really want us to believe you give a shit, you might want to drop some of the polystyrene. Or better yet, this in-character appearance for Angel Delight, taking off the then popular Sainsbury's campaign, where various celebrities shared their favourite recipes while being very specific about which shop to get everything from.
Take 1 packet of banana flavour Angel Delight, add half a pint of milk, whisk until light and fluffy, and freeze into banana flavour iced lollies. Angel Delight, much more than a dessert. I think I'll just tidy this up, yes.
Not only is it adorable, it's a good idea. I want to make some of those. They look pretty delicious. Seems a bit involved for Orinoco, though. You'd probably balk at the effort required in whisking it up, or in fetching the whisk in the first place. Perhaps surprisingly, I'm not aware of any Keep Britain Tidy adverts, or rather public information films, starring the Wombles, despite their obvious compatibility. In fact, it's only recently that they've started collaborating with Ted Bellingham and company, and that's with the new design, the tiny eyes and the human mouths. And they don't even speak, even though Bernard Cribbins was still alive at this point. Of course, his most famous advertorial character, animated or otherwise, is that feathered bastard Busby. I went through his life and times in explicit hardcore detail in the episode about communications, which, if I remember, should be linked on screen right about now. You can go and watch it. Quite a good episode, I thought. Anyway, if you haven't seen that one yet, and or can't be asked to watch it now in the middle of this one, like some kind of nightmarish advertising matrushka, suffice to say that more or less literally everyone in the entire world hated Busby, possibly including Cribbins, for being a cloying, patronising little twat.
Give me the moonlight, give me the girl. Hello, darling. Just calling to say I love you. Oh, excuse me for a moment, Mother. Now then, phoning someone you love is a very easy way to make them very happy. And if you dial direct on your own phone during cheap rate, you get at least 3 minutes for less than 10p. So why not phone someone you love tonight? It could be the happiest 10p you've ever spent. Now, where was I? Oh.
Well, maybe that's a bit harsh. Not the description, the idea that he was actively hated. The only people who probably truly hated him were the CB radio freaks, for whom he was a symbol of government oppression until it was made legal in 1981. It's just that Busby was ubiquitous from the late 70s to the early 80s, either telling us what we already knew about how telephones work, or else trying to make us feel better about the phone bill.
Boomtown, scrapyard.
Hello, Hudson. It's Busby.
Busby? My old friend.
Hudson, you old dog, you. Yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, Busby, I've been meaning to come round and see you, but I've been tied up lately.
You rascal. Been chasing the milkman again?
Well,
And you know that cute little poodle up the road?
yeah.
She keeps asking about you.
No.
Resenting him was all too easy. And this is where Cribbins came in handy for the post office and later British Telecom. Because for as annoying as Busby was, it's hard to truly dislike anyone with the voice of Bernard Cribbins without feeling like the greater bastard. Even Busby.
Hello, is this the Jiffy Plumbing Service? I was wondering if you had a man free.
Well, I think I may have a job for you.
Cribbins also did plenty of regular voiceovers for companies who had a vested interest in seeming vaguely friendly and human, like the investments, pensions and general financemancy company Clerical Medical.
You can always tell if someone's with Clerical Medical. He's not. With your investments, life assurance and pensions carefully planned, you look the future straight in the eye.
It's okay, it's just a metaphor for looking to the future. Not a threat that if you don't sign up with whatever the hell it is they actually do, they'll break your fucking neck.
Talk to your financial advisor about Clerical Medical for forward-looking people.
And of course, he often appeared in person, having a physicality to match his voice. Again, the obvious place to deploy him was for adverts aimed at children. And he spent several years in the late 70s and early 80s as a tiny spokesman for Hornby train sets, miniaturised via chroma key effects much more sophisticated than Doctor Who had ever used up to that point. Or indeed until the 21st century revival, really.
Shh, it's me, Hornby size. Just to show you why Hornby are my favourite train sets. But it's a bit dodgy because somebody's let the cat in.
Off we go then! Just look at Hornby's loving attention to detail. This goods yard, for instance. They've got all sorts of things. Even a furry bridge. Furry bridge.
You only get them a train set once, so make it Hornby.
I'm going to swap you for a budgie.
The enthusiasm really is infectious. I kind of want to play with a train set now. and I'm not a particular enthusiast.
Hello, I'm Hornby-size again. Morning. Now I can show you some more exciting things. How about this mail coach for starters? It's just like the real thing. And what about those locos and the turntable? Hello. Bit of trouble then? Just hang on to that, will you, sunshine? Right, don't move a muscle. Yeah!
Hornby, use your imagination.
Well done, lads. Oh!
He even recorded a 5-minute monologue on flexidisc that came free with the sets themselves and was genuinely quite amusing in its own right.
The best possible solution is to build a permanent layout as soon as possible. And I've got just the thing here for that. Let's see. Just rip that off there. There we are. Hornby's 3-part pre-formed layout. It's tailor-made for the job. But, as you haven't got one of those, we won't bother with that. Right.
Hopefully I'll remember to include a link to that as well. You pulled double duty on this one from around the same time.
What is a dad? A dad is someone you can depend on to build a better future for his family, to keep his head in a tight corner.
Looks like it's going to be for Black & Decker or B&Q or something, but no.
To remember that his family prefer Terry's Moonlight chocolates, because Moonlight's half milk, half plain assortment makes the whole family happy.
See, it's for a box of chocs. Specifically, Terry's Moonlight, where the gimmick was half of them were milk and half of them were plain, only unimaginable luxury. I would honestly have expected such a box to be sold on some sort of general idea of sophistication. Well, with the name and the elegant box design, and that gimmick, of course. But no, it's being sold as a bribe from Bernard Cribbins to get his family to forgive him for being crap at DIY, while another Bernard Cribbins explains the premise on the soundtrack.
And so, at the end of the day, he too can feel happy to think that he has given his all. Terry's Moonlight, half milk, half plain, twice the pleasure.
Chocolate and train sets, though, that's easy. Cribbins also had a stint as frontman for something far less appetising and fun. Fray Bentos. I used to think that was someone's name, like Betty Crocker or Sarah Lee, but it's actually a port in Uruguay where corned beef was originally loaded for export. Either way, the name is now synonymous with the worst meat hacked off of emaciated cows, suspended in briny gravy and tinned for hand-to-mouth proletarians to use in casseroles, soups and pies in between guttural sobs of despair. Even Cribbins can't make it appetising, as you can see.
Some best steak and kidney, please.
Yes, sir.
All nice and lean.
Yes.
And Mum says it better be good.
Right. What she wants is Fray Bentos family-sized pie filling.
Yeah, he's definitely doing this to punish the kid for being obnoxious. Fair enough, if you ask me. It's not exactly the most obvious tack for advertising. Buy our product for someone you dislike out of sheer passive aggression. But by 1982, Fray Bentos were probably well aware of what they were up against. And so was Cribbins, whose avuncularity muscles have probably never come under such strain since he made the 1967 Casino Royale.
Real tasty beef, and easily enough for 4.
But there's only 3 of us.
Well, invite a friend, if you've got one.
Of course, what Fray Bentos are really known for is the pies. But again, not in a good way. We're talking about the classic pie in a tin, consisting of a few apologetic layers of greasy puff pastry atop what I'm told looks, smells and tastes like dog food, and for all intents and purposes is. No one would eat it if they had any choice whatsoever. Frankly, they need the likes of Cribbins to normalise it.
Have you got a little...
Hello, love. See, you and Dave got married then? Got just what you need for supper. Tender beef simmered in its own gravy with a tasty pie crust.
Don't do it, lady. It's a trick. There's a man under the counter with a derringer trained on Cribbins' balls, Why else would he do something like this to you?
Oh, but I've never made a pie.
No, and you never have to. Fray bent off steak and kidney pie just like his mother's. She buys them here too.
Listen to that bit about her mother at the end. That's code. He's trying to warn you. Call the police, for God's sake.
Fray bent off steak and kidney pie just like his mother's. She buys them here too.
That was the thing about Cribbins, though. There's a reason he never played a psychotic murderer or power-crazed tyrant in his career. He probably would have had trouble doing it justice, and the viewer would either have not believed it for a second, or ended up rooting for him. He had the quality of being inherently lovable and cuddly. There's not much of that around anymore. I suppose there's Ray Brooks, but even he murdered Pauline Fowler. Cribbins was unique. The fact that he had a career going back 7 decades, a career that was still ongoing until the day he died, just goes to prove it. Only unique people manage that kind of longevity. There were no days when he was behind the times.
A sort of feeling, if we remove the ceiling with a rope or two, we could drop the bladder through. All right, said Fred, climbing up a ladder with his crowbar, gave a mighty blow. Was he in trouble? Half a ton of rubble landed on the top of his dome. So Charlie and me had another cup of tea, and then we went home. I said to Charlie, we'll just have to leave it standing on the landing, that's all. You see, the trouble with Fred is he's too hasty. Now, you never get nowhere if you're too hasty.
You just sat through a Bob the Fish production. Nice! If you haven't already, you absolutely must check out bobthefish.org.uk. Literally hundreds more videos not unlike that one, adding up to days worth of entertainment and all absolutely free. But if you're not a cold-hearted skinflint, you can always support us on Patreon. For as little as anything at all, you can make programmes like the one you just watched possible in the first place, and become eligible for bonus material such as glimpses of the book I'm writing about the BBC, monthly riffings on random commercial breaks, the complete archives of the angry political satire magazine Two Sons, and even the odd very occasional bonus video essay unavailable anywhere else. If nothing else, you should prevent me from starving and or freezing to death in the foreseeable future, so that'll be nice. No pressure or anything. bobthefish.org.uk. You make it what it is.